How many meetings with clients have you been to that were aimless, unstructured and poorly planned? Now, if you're like most professionals, probably quite a few. Your first few meetings with a potential client should be about trying to figure out whether you should work together. You get this wrong and the relationship is over before it's begun. Yet so many professionals try to wing it with little preparation and only a vague objective for the meetings. And if you continue to set up your meetings like this, well, you'll find that time and time again, opportunities will only progress as far as the first or second meeting and no further. Now, from the client's perspective, they simply can't afford to invest time in meetings with professionals which don't seem to be going anywhere and where they don't get value from the event itself. There is a structured approach to client meetings, which we did discuss in detail. And if you do remember, that approach was as easy as the acronym KFC, which is know, feel, and commit. Now, beginning with the end in mind, it all starts with commit. Think about what you want the client to do. What do you want them to commit to? Now, you may want your client to commit to a follow-up meeting to discuss a specific topic in more detail, or you may wish to introduce your client to a senior colleague. From there, and this is an important step, you figure out what the client or potential client must know and feel for them to be comfortable in making the commitment. Now, every client meeting must have a clear objective of what you want to achieve from that meeting. And in particular, you must identify what you want them to actually do as a result. There has to be a call to action, because if you don't do anything differently as a result of the meeting, then what was the point of the meeting with the client in the first place? Even if your goal is to simply progress the relationship in some way, that progression needs to result in some sort of action. It may be something as simple like providing more information, making an introduction, or agreeing to a follow-up, but it needs to be something or the relationship really hasn't progressed. Your objective has to be realistic. Your end goal may be for them to engage you, but that's going to be highly unlikely to happen in your first meeting. You know, winning business in professional services is more like a courtship than a one-night stand. Now, a more realistic first meeting objective is to jointly agree on the key challenges that the client faces that you could help with, and to follow up to explore those more in detail and to keep the client engaged. It's also good practice for the client to also do some homework and bring more details and data on specific areas, and for you to bring along some examples of similar work that you've done with other clients. Having a clear meeting objective is important, and it's surprising how many professionals don't actually do it. But on its own, it's not enough. You need to think through what it will take to achieve that objective in the meeting. And that's where the K and F come in. So if your objective is to get a follow-up meeting to discuss a specific area to work on together, what will the client need to know and feel for them to agree to that? Know is about facts. Perhaps they need to know the area that you specialize in and the types of clients that you've worked with before, or that you are a real expert in your field. That will begin to give them the confidence that you have the skills to work on their problem. Now, the feel is a little trickier, but often more important. When you have the client's best interest in mind, you will find out what they need to feel to commit to your objective. Maybe they need to feel that you understand them, that you're on their side, or maybe that they need to feel that you've really listened to them, or that you're a person that they can trust. So how do you get your client to know what they need to know and feel what they need to feel? Well, that's the art of building business. And one of the most powerful ways is to use smart questions to help clients know and feel. Firstly, recognize that you won't effectively get across the right knowledge and particularly feelings through a long presentation about you or your company. Now, that might get across some of the right knowledge, but it will create the wrong feelings. A long drawn out presentation where you are doing all the talking will ensure that your client will feel that you're more interested in yourself than them, and that you don't listen, and that the meetings with you are going to be deathly dull. So one way to get across the knowledge and experience that doesn't come across as dull and self-promotional is to use short stories and anecdotes of similar client situations. And the best way to set the foundations so you can find out the things the client needs to know, and in getting them to feel the right way about you, is to ask smart questions. Now, being able to ask the right questions that really focus in on the tough issues will establish your expertise greater than any claims that you might make about it, or any qualifications that you have or awards that you may have won. So the most important part of your preparation and structuring of the agenda for any meeting should be on questions that you need to ask so that you can find out what you need to know, but more importantly, to help the client know and feel the things that you've identified were critical for them to agree to the objective. And finally, of course, you must close by asking for that follow-up meeting or the introduction that you were looking for. Or at the end of some series of meetings, actually ask for the business. Now, I know that sounds obvious, right? But so many professionals fail to do it. The fear of rejection kicks in, and they close weekly without making a clear request for the action that they're looking for. And so that doesn't happen. But if you've planned and prepared correctly, if you've structured the meeting to cover all bases necessary to help the clients know and feel the right things, then they should be perfectly comfortable committing to the desired action. So just remember, it's as simple as KFC. Thanks for listening.